She moved through the dining room quietly, her tray balanced carefully in her hands. The dim afternoon light filtered through tall windows, casting a soft glow over the polished wooden floors and the clustered tables. Each table was draped in pristine white linen, set with gleaming silverware and sparkling crystal glasses. She wore a simple black dress, her apron tied neatly around her waist. Her name was Maya, and she had been working at the Sterling estate for just over 2 months now. Enough time to learn the routines, the names of the regular patrons, and the cadence of polite conversation required in this world of wealth and privilege. It was her first time serving Mr. Jonathan Archer's private luncheon, and she felt a knot of nervous excitement tighten in her stomach. Jonathan Archer was a man shrouded in mystery and speculation, a self-made millionaire, rumored to have built his empire through savvy real estate investments and a bit of old-fashioned charm. He rarely granted interviews and never spoke of his personal life. Yet his lavish home, nested at the edge of town, behind wrought iron gates and perfectly trimmed hedges, was the stuff of legends. Maya paused at the entrance to the grand hall where the luncheon was to take place. A furl of linen curtain swayed gently near the doorway, teasing the marble floor beneath. She took a deep breath, reminding herself to keep her shoulders straight and her voice soft. She reminded herself that here she was invisible, just another waitress doing her job. She stepped inside. The table was set for 6. 3 guests were already seated, their murmured voices pausing as Maya approached. She offered each a polite nod and placed a glass of sparkling water before them. "Good afternoon," she said, her voice even. "Can I get anyone anything else before we begin?" A woman with auburn hair lifted her eyes and smiled. "Just the lemonade, please." Maya nodded and glanced at Jonathan Archer, who sat at the head of the table. His dark hair was slicked back, his sharp features accentuated by the soft light. His gaze met hers for a brief moment, and she felt a flutter of surprise. His eyes were the same deep brown she had seen in her mother's photo albums. But she dismissed the thought immediately. It was impossible. She closed her notebook and turned away. She moved to the sideboard and carried a pitcher of lemonade to the table, pouring it slowly. Her mind raced, images flashing in her memory. A small child standing by a dusty wooden bench, smiling into a camera lens, her mother holding her close. The picture had been tucked away in her grandmother's attic until just a few weeks ago. When her grandmother passed away, Maya had discovered it inside an old walnut frame, faded around the edges. She had taken the photo home, curious about the woman with the kind eyes who held a child identical to herself. "Mother," Maya whispered when she saw it. "Who is this girl?" Her mother's pale blue eyes had clouded over. She had sighed and refused to answer. Some things are better left in the past. That single moment had ignited something in Maya, a determination to know her history, to find the pieces that were missing. She had grown up believing her father had died before she was born, a fact her mother would neither confirm nor deny. Her childhood was a patchwork of half-truths and blank spaces. But now, standing here at the Sterling estate, her life felt intertwined with secrets yet to be uncovered. She cleared her throat, returning her focus to the present. "Lunch is served," she announced, stepping back to let them begin. Bowls of chilled gazpacho arrived first, garnished with sprigs of basil. The guests sampled the savory soup, exchanging polite compliments. Maya moved among them, refilling water glasses and collecting used plates. With each step, her heart beat harder. As the main course was cleared away, a delicate slice of seared salmon on a bed of wild rice, Maya sneezed unexpectedly and dropped a fork with a clatter. The guests startled, eyes turning toward her. She bent to pick it up, cheeks flaming. "It's fine," said Mr. Archer, laying his hand on hers for a moment. His touch sent a jolt through her. "Are you all right?" She rose quickly, brushing imaginary dust from her apron. "I'm fine, thank you." His brow creased with concern. "You look familiar. Have we met?" She forced a smile. "I don't believe so, sir." He studied her a moment, then nodded and pressed his lips together. Maya felt as if she had escaped a trap. She moved away, her mind racing with questions. Why had he hesitated? Why had his expression softened when he saw her? The dessert course was a delicate torte with layers of chocolate and raspberry, and Maya served it with practiced grace. As she placed the final plate, Jonathan Archer spoke again. Maya, was it? Tell me, what's the most memorable thing you've ever seen framed in a picture? Her breath caught. He knew her name. She looked down at her shoes. My grandmother had a photo of her mother and her sister in an old frame. They were young, and it always looked peaceful. He smiled faintly, eyes thoughtful. Family pictures can hold more truth than words. She nodded. Yes, sir. After the guests departed, Maya found herself alone in the hall, clearing the last of the dishes. She paused by the fireplace, the last embers glowing. The silence was heavy. She folded a napkin and tucked it into her apron pocket, her fingers brushing against something hard. She pulled it out, a small wooden frame, dusty but intricately carved. Inside was a faded photograph of a young girl in a black dress, eyes bright, smiling. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She stared at the frame. What was it doing here? She had never seen it before. She pressed her thumb against the glass and saw the reflection of Jonathan Archer behind her. She spun around, startled. He stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. I found this in the back room, he said softly. I meant to give it to you. Her heart pounded. Me? He nodded and stepped closer, taking the frame gently from her hands. I think you should have it. Maya stared at the photograph. The girl in the photo wore the same black dress Maya wore every day at work. The resemblance was striking, down to the curl of her hair. The air between them grew thick. Who is she? She whispered. Jonathan's gaze dropped to the photo. That was you, Maya, when you were about 5 years old. I took that picture. Her hand flew to her mouth. She shook her head, disbelief etched across her face. No, I was born here. How? Why? He inhaled slowly. You are my daughter. I left here when your mother got pregnant. I was young and scared, thought I couldn't provide for you. Your mother begged me to go, said it was best for everyone. She told me to build a life first, then find you. He paused, watching her reaction. I tried. Believe me, I tried to find you. But I never knew where your mother went. Tears welled in Maya's eyes. Memories tumbled. The photograph in her grandmother's attic, her mother's silence, the emptiness she felt. She pressed her palm to the glass and looked up at him. Why now? After all these years, why bring me back here? He took her hand in his. Because I heard about you. I heard you were here working, beautiful, smart, strong, and I knew then that I had to see you, to know you were okay. She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. You left. He swallowed hard. I know. And I've regretted it every day. But I was proud of you, even from afar. I watched you grow in pictures your mother sent sometimes, photos in the mail, birthdays, graduations. I kept them all. I had to wait until you found me. Maya blinked. My mother never told me. Jonathan's jaw tightened. She made me promise not to ruin your life. She said you'd have everything you needed. But I missed you. It destroyed me. Maya lowered her head. Memories of her mother's face, weary and stern, flashed before her. I thought he was dead, she whispered. Everyone told me my father died. He nodded, sorrow in his eyes. I let them believe that. I thought it was the only way to give you a decent start. I'm so sorry. Maya stepped back, holding the frame like a shield. I don't know if I can... Jonathan's voice broke. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance to be part of your life now if you'll let me. Silence stretched between them. The afternoon light shifted, shadows lengthening across the floor. Maya took a deep breath and looked up at him. I need time. He nodded, tears shining in his eyes. Take all the time you need. She tucked the photograph into her apron, pocket, and turned away, heading for the door. Thank you, she said quietly. Then she was gone. Outside, the air was cooler. Maya paused by her car, the frame pressed against her chest. She remembered the moment she had found the photo in her grandmother's house, and how her grandmother had whispered, "Some truths are meant to find you." She realized now that her grandmother's words had come full circle. The next morning, Maya arrived at the Sterling estate before her shift. The gates were still closed, the morning sun just casting light on the hedges. She carried a paper bag from a bakery downtown with 2 warm croissants inside. Jonathan stood by the gates, waiting. When he saw her, his face broke into a hopeful smile. "Good morning, Maya." Her grip tightened on the bag's handles. "Good morning." He held up one croissant. "I thought you might like breakfast." Maya looked at the pastry, then at his earnest face. Something in his eyes reminded her of the child in the photograph. Hopeful, gentle. She exhaled softly. "I'll have one," she said, taking it. He offered her a seat by the gate. She sat on the low stone wall, the frame poking against her side. She unwrapped half the croissant and took a small bite, the buttery pastry melting in her mouth. He asked gently. She held the frame up, its wood smooth under her fingers. "In my grandmother's attic. After she died." He nodded. "I remember framing it myself and leaving it here, planning to surprise you when you were older. But things got complicated." She bit her lip. "I thought I was fine without you, but seeing you again," her voice faltered, "makes everything feel different." He finished her thought. She looked at him, the croissant forgotten now in her lap. "Yes." They sat in silence for a while, the world around them waking. Up, birds sang in the hedges and a distant gardener mowed the lawn. "Can we start?" he said, breaking the quiet. "Can we start with dinner? Tomorrow night, at my house." She glanced down at the photo, then back at him. "Just us?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Just us." She considered his offer. She could feel fear fluttering in her chest. Fear of being hurt again. But she also felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Possibility. "Okay," she said finally. "Dinner sounds good." She slid off the wall and held the frame out for him. "Could you hold this for me?" He took the frame from her gently, his eyes soft. "Of course." She placed the croissant bag beside her and stood up. "I'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Archer." "Call me Jonathan," he said, too softly for her to hear, but her lips curved into a small smile. Maya walked through the gates, her heart light. She thought of her mother's silence, her grandmother's whispered words, and the photograph that had brought her here. She knew the path ahead would have its challenges, but for the first time in her life she felt whole. She felt seen. As the gates closed behind her, Jonathan stood alone, the framed photograph held tightly in his hands. He turned it over and read the inscription. "My daughter, Maya, 1989. The wind rustled through the hedges, carrying a promise of new beginnings. Maya drove home, the photograph safely tucked into her bag. She felt a warmth inside her, a quiet strength she hadn't known she possessed. She knew the road ahead would be long, conversations to have, memories to share, trust to build. But she also knew she was ready to face the past and embrace the future. That night she sat at her kitchen table, the frame in front of her. She lifted the glass and traced the outline of her young face with her fingertip. She whispered into the stillness, "Thank you for finding me." And somewhere, in the quiet halls of the Sterling estate, Jonathan Archer whispered back, "Thank you for giving me a second chance."